Well, hey friends, this is Jennifer, and this is the Jennifer Allwood Show, the podcast for women who want to find freedom in both their life and in their business. I own a multi-7-figure-a-year coaching business. I'm also a certified life coach. So I have the honor of helping thousands of women every single month make money in the online space and help them to get unstuck from whatever is holding them back, all without sacrificing their faith or their family. In this show, you're going to get the very best life and business advice, always with a healthy dose of Jesus. So buckle in, my friend. I'm so excited that you are here. Well, hey friends, it's Jennifer Allwood. This is the Jennifer Allwood Show, and welcome back to the podcast. I have a super fun guest for you today. So my guest today is Amy Porterfield, who became an online friend of mine many, many years ago. And then we've taken our relationship, Amy and I have, to texting status, and I am determined that I am going to meet Amy in real life sometime in the next couple of months. So if you do not know who Amy Porterfield is, let me tell you just a little bit about her. So she's an ex-corporate girl, same as myself, who has turned into an online marketing expert and the CEO of a multi-million-dollar business. She has best-selling courses and a top-ranked marketing podcast called The Online Marketing Made Easy, with a huge following on her podcast. Let me just say that. Amy's helped hundreds of thousands of entrepreneurs turn in their 2 weeks notice and trade their burnout for freedom, income, and impact. So she has a brand new book called 2 weeks notice, which is helping you find the courage to quit your job, make more money, work where you want, and change the world. I am super excited to have a conversation with Amy today. And so without further ado, here she is. Hello, Miss Amy.
Well, hello there, friend. It's good to see you again.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm so good. Okay. I just went on Instagram this morning and I said, how many of you have people that you consider friends that you've taken your relationship from Instagram DMs to texting level, but you still have never met in real life?
Oh, it's a story of us.
And I'm like, example, Amy Porterfield, how have we not met in real life?
I don't know, because we have talked forever and ever. And I love our relationship because we go in seasons. Something's going on. We're chatty, and then we don't see each other and then we come back. I love it.
Okay. Well, this just popped in my brain. You are now in Nashville. I will be in Nashville in April. I know.
Okay. It's done.
It's done. So we're going to make that happen. I'm so excited to have you here today because I have been on your podcast. And have you ever been on mine?
I had to have. I thought.
Was it a long, long time ago, though?
We did a training together for your audience.
Yes, you did a training together for my Better Way program. Absolutely. And so a ton of my listeners are going to know you from that. But what I want to chat about today is your brand new book, which I am so excited. I do not have a copy yet. And I'm going to have to run out and grab one the day that it comes out. But your new book, tell us all about that. Tell us the title. Okay. Tell us why this is the topic of the book. And then I have tons and tons of questions about it because I've actually read a lot of the excerpts from it. I just don't have the physical one in my hand to hold up and show right now. But tell me about the book.
So it's called 2 Weeks Notice.
Which is genius, by the way. As soon as I saw that, I'm like, of course it's called 2 Weeks Notice. So good. It's almost like you're in marketing or something.
Just a little. So 2 weeks notice, find the courage to quit your job, make more money, work where you want, and change the world.
Love it.
The book that I wrote this book because it's the book I wish I had 14 years ago when I left my very last 9-to-5 job and went out on my own to start my own business and was clueless. Those first 2 years, I was a hot mess, and I don't think it needs to be that way. So what I did is I wrote a book to give you the courage to quit whatever it is that you're doing that you want to leave behind, most likely a 9-to-5 job, but also what does that runway look like? If you're going to leave in 6 months, let's say, how do we get you prepared to go out on your own and start your business? So the runway between still being in your job and wanting to quit and start something is very important. So I map it all out in the book, and then I teach you how to build a foundation for your online business from scratch. So all the things you need to do to build a solid foundation so you start making money quickly.
What was the thing? Because you did have a really cool job. And you may want to tell our listeners what that was. But what was the thing for you, Amy, that was like, you know what, I know in my nowhere that it's time for me to leave? Or what was the deciding factor for you to leave corporate America?
So I did have a really cool job. I worked with Tony Robbins, and I was the director of content development, and I got to travel the world and work on stage, work on the content that he does on stage, like Unleash the Power Within, Date with Destiny. So it was great. However, I talk about this in the very beginning of the book. There was this one meeting where Tony did like a focus group, and he brought in all of these online business owners, and he went around and he said, tell me about your businesses. What do you sell? What are you doing? And I was brought to the meeting to take notes. So very humbling. I was sitting at a different table. They were all men at this big oak table talking about their businesses, and they started sharing about their lifestyle. And all I saw or heard was freedom. They were working when they wanted, where they wanted, how they wanted. They were making as much money as they wanted. They were making an impact in the way that they felt good about. They were calling the shots. And in that moment, I thought, I have never called the shots. I have never been free. You know, not to get into daddy issues, but I was raised by a really strict dad. He was my first boss. His way or the highway.
Same. Oh, wow.
Oh, so you get that. And then I go into the work world and I have all these bosses, typically male bosses. So never was I just calling the shots, and I wanted it bad for the first time in my life.
I love that. Okay. So, did you have like an actual business plan to quit, or did you have a plan B when you quit, or tell us what that looked like?
Okay. So when I talk about building that runway to quit your 9-to-5 job, one of the things I did, and I suggest my students do, is I created a side hustle. And so a side hustle, meaning I started to do social media for small businesses. That's how I kind of started in this world. And I took a few clients because I needed to bring in a little extra money just to prove to myself, maybe this could work. But I did not have a business plan. And it's funny, to this day, if I talk to all my peers and myself, I don't even know what a business plan looks like a full-fledged, right? Like,
do you know I wrote one? Because I'll have clients come in too, and they'll be like, well, I need to work on my business plan. And I'm like, I don't know what you're saying. I wrote a business plan when I was in college, for a fake company, and you don't need a business plan. You need a plan that'll work, but I don't know. Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
You're right. So you don't need a business plan. Here's 3 things you definitely don't need, but this is where we like to spend our time. Number 1, full-fledged business plan. You do not need it. You need a starter idea. You need to kind of figure out what you're going to offer. I go through all of that in the book to get people started. Number 2, you don't need a fancy website. So this is something that stops people in their tracks. Until they have a full blown out website, they feel like they can't get started. I talk about in the book, I made $1 million with the ugliest website on the web. Now, listen, if you're in Jennifer's world, we're not doing ugly anything. Like seriously, you're the best aesthetics, but we don't need lots of bells and whistles. We don't need to spend months and months and months on this. And there's so many great tools now to get a website up like that. The third thing you don't need, but you'll want to spend time on, is business cards. We don't need fancy business cards either.
100%, 100%. And so, keep going.
I tell people in the book, I show people, teach people what they do need, what we should be focusing on. And so that's to help them get started on the right track.
Okay. Tell me, I know that you talk in the book about unbossing.
Yes.
That for some reason, when I read that, Amy, I was like, it reminds me of like our 8-year-old.
No.
Like, you're not the boss of me. Like that type of.
Exactly. You're not the boss of me.
Actually, when I first read the term unbossing, I'm like, what a cool term, unbossing.
And you're not the boss of me is a great title for a chapter for my book. I want to rename it now. It's so good. I remember telling my sister that all the time.
Yes, which is why I wrote my book, Fear is Not the Boss of You. And yes, I love that. So tell me about unbossing. What does that mean?
So embossing is this concept that you begin to believe that nobody needs to lead you, meaning you have everything inside you to make the decisions, to troubleshoot, to lead yourself. The reason why it became such a big theme in the book is because, especially with women, some of us feel, me included, that we need a man to help move us forward, or we need a bunch of people around us to help make the decision.
Or a business partner.
Or a business partner.
Right? Yes.
So for me, I thought I needed a man to help me, and I thought I needed a business partner. So I got a male business partner, and it turned out to be a disaster at one point. And in the book, I talk about how I almost lost my business because I didn't know how to unboss myself. And so throughout the book, I talk about finding the courage and then the confidence in order to make the decisions yourself. Let yourself make all the mistakes. You will absolutely make the wrong decisions and have to course correct. Everyone does, but that doesn't mean you can't lead yourself. So it's really powerful to step into, I'm going to do this. I don't need anyone to help me.
So I have talked about this I got my life coaching certification last year, Amy. I don't
You
even know if you
did?
know that. I did,
That for
because
you.
it
Yes.
helps me to be such a better business coach. And I realize that so much of what my coaching is there's strategy, but it is life coaching. So I have a theory on this topic of like unbossing.
Yeah.
Well, because I think that as children, we are taught to ask permission for everything, in traditional school, you have to raise your hand to leave the room. You have to ask permission to go to the restroom. You have to, and so we're constantly asking permission. And it sounds like you were raised in a home much like I was, with super strict parents. And so there was never any really decision making for ourselves. And then we get out into the real world and it's like, well, you can be anything you want to be and you can do anything you want to do. But what I find, especially with females, and so much of my audience is females, is that we feel like we need to ask permission. It's almost easier when somebody's bossing us. It reminds me of that scene. Shawshank Redemption is one of my favorite movies.
I love it.
Okay. So remember when like he gets out of prison and that not the main character, but that older little tiny gentleman.
Yes,
And they put him in like a room. I can't think of his name because I didn't think about this until the Lord just showed it to me right now. But he ended up like killing himself because it was almost easier to be in the system where somebody told you what time to do this and what time to do that. And so that is that's an interesting, I love that you're talking about unbossing. Did you make that term up? I need to trademark that.
I got to give credit to Gabby Bernstein. We were talking about it one day. She was helping me put together my book and she's like, unbossing. And so I have to give her all the credit, but I love that what you said. I've never said this before, and I think it's important. We're almost more comfortable being told what to do.
Yes, 100%.
And that's why entrepreneurship, especially in the beginning, is so hard because no one is going to tell you what to do. Yeah. And that's why it's easy to look around and think, oh, I'll do it that way. She's doing it that way. I got to do it exactly that way. That's another way. When you start unbossing yourself, you start finding your own way.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it just is so tied into why so many women feel like they almost need to ask permission to do things in business. Like, I know with your course, teaching people how to do courses, there's probably people that are like, well, I'd kind of like to do it this way. Is that okay? And maybe they don't say that to you actually out loud, but I think so often we are wired to ask versus just, trusting ourselves enough, and our gut feelings to do what we feel like we're supposed to be doing. So can we talk about the term boss traps? Because I know you talk about boss traps in the book too.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
So a boss trap is this: you've gone out on your own, you're starting to do the thing, and you still act as though you have a boss. So one of the ways you do that is you start to get clients and you let them be your boss. And I am the poster child for this. So when I went out on my own, I took clients and started doing their social media, and I would let them boss me around, tell me what to do, totally crazy expectations for me. And I'd say yes to all of it. I think it came from a desperation of, I need clients and I don't want them to leave me.
Fear. Absolutely.
Total fear in this. Yep. And so I would get up in the morning and realize, oh my gosh, I've got like 8 bosses, clients telling me what to do, bossing me around. And I was miserable. Mm-hmm. So it's setting boundaries early on. In the book, I talk about non-negotiables. And these non-negotiables are what you are willing to do and not willing to do.
Yes.
One thing I wish I did when I was first starting out, I wish I got really clear on the lifestyle that I wanted, how I wanted to spend my day, how I wanted to live my life, and then built a business into that. Yes. I did it the wrong way. I created my business and then tried to stuff a lifestyle into that. And it was almost impossible. So I had to recalibrate with these non-negotiables that I talk about in the book. But boss traps, they're just basically taking you right back to, I'm an employee, and you forget that you are not. Another one that comes up is that you think you need to do everything on your own. When you are on a team, you're still responsible for very specific things. In the work world, we have a lot of pride for, this is our project, I'm doing it this way, I've got it. Where when you become a boss, you need to get people in, you need to ask people for help, you need to have a support system. When in 9 to 5, we typically don't have a lot of support, we're doing things on our own. A boss trap is not asking for help.
Yeah, I love that. Amy, have you noticed with all of the people that you coach that sometimes they we end up in the beginning because people need clients and they need sales and they need real life income because they have real life bills. And I get all of that. So I'm constantly telling people, like, build a business that fits your life. Don't you try to fit your life into the business. Like, that's backwards. But what I sometimes notice, and I have done this myself, and I still at times am trying to like back up from this. I'll find myself thinking I have to do this. I have to, answer all these emails today. I have to be at my desk Monday through Thursday because I don't work Fridays. I have to. And then there's times I have to stop myself and be like, you know what? I actually don't. Like, I want to build, the thing that fits me and feels good. And I have to remind myself, I can take my laptop and I can go out by the pool if I want. But it's almost like it feels like it's not real work if I'm not doing it in a way. Does that make sense? I've been out of corporate America for 23 years.
I was going to say, girl, you're speaking my language. Absolutely. That makes perfect sense. And I think, when we first got on, you were telling me your kids had a snow day, and you usually cancel your meetings when that happens because the kids are home, and you didn't cancel on me because I have a book coming out and you're a good friend and I appreciate you.
Yep. Love you so much.
Yes. Love you. But I love that you get to decide, you know what, today we're not doing this. My kids are home and I'm going to be present. You don't get to do that in a 9-to-5 job.
Yes.
So sometimes when I complain to my husband about my workload or a project I'm working on and I'm mad about this or that, he'll say, you should go look in the mirror and talk to your boss and see if she could change that for you. Like, he reminds me, like, you are the boss.
Oh man.
Right?
Yes. Thank goodness for husbands that'll tell the truth.
Oh, so true.
I know. Okay. So I love that whole boss trap conversation. So tell me how you prevent burnout. I mean, because I know you talk about that in the book, and you talk about what it was like from like transitioning to a schedule to having your own hours. I know sometimes, it's tempting to want to do all the things and fill all the space. And we can lie to ourselves and think that more work equals more progress. I find myself sometimes even doing busy work that really doesn't move the needle. And I have to remind myself to knock it off. And I have this thought that I'd love to know your thoughts on. I feel like, so you and I were both raised in a super strict household. My dad was in the military, and so hard work was instilled in me from like since I was a child. And so that meant a lot of times, we were shoveling snow by hand before school. Like, I'm not just making this up. Every day of my life, my chores, like I had a chore list, like it just, it was pretty strict. And so growing up with a lot of chores, a lot of things to do, a lot of expectations, I think that there is sometimes this thing that happens where we think work hard. And by the way, that's a biblical concept, working hard, but we think that means work long.
Oh, yes.
And we mess it up in our mind. And we think I've got to be sitting at my desk for, 12 hours, 16 hours, whatever. And then that leads to burnout. And we're like, what the heck happened? And so tell me about some boundaries that you have for yourself. And in the beginning, were you horrible at setting your own hours?
Horrible. And listen, talking about dads being strict, my dad's philosophy, this is so wild, is if you're doing work that you don't want to be doing, that means you're a hard worker.
Oh,
like there is some really weird psychological things.
Oh, how much counseling have we had combined? No, I'm kidding.
A lot. So yeah, we have to remember sometimes we're living someone else's life. I was literally building my business like my dad would build his business based on his own values. And so I had to, yes, in the beginning, I did all the things, had no boundaries, no non-negotiable kind of things set up for me. And I hit burnout about year 2. I was burned out.
Yes.
And so here in the book, I talk about what I wish I would have done differently because I made many, many mistakes. And I wish that I would have, this is a big wish, but went to a 4-day work week right from the get-go. You and I don't work Fridays.
We don't work Fridays.
Right? That's a big deal. And I really do believe I could have set up my business early on with a 4-day work week. And the crazy thing is we're starting to see it everywhere. People are talking about the power of a 4-day work week.
Yeah.
And so
are we trendsetters? Is that what
we are such trendsetters and didn't even know it. But I don't believe that you have to wait till you're 10 years into your business to get a 4-day work week. I really do think this is something you can do. But let's say if that feels a little bit too big for people just starting out, because I know you feel like you got to do all the things, you do have to decide, when do you end work? Because when you start to work from home, you literally could work 24/7.
24/7.
Yeah, that computer in that other room is calling you, or it's probably at the kitchen table most of the time. It's like, hey, lover, come on over here.
Yes.
Let's do this. So you have to have those boundaries. Like, when are you going to end work? Do you work weekends?
Yeah.
Maybe sometimes, but maybe not every weekend like I did in the first few years.
Yeah.
And also, what are you going to give away to somebody? Now, I know the first year you might not have money to get a virtual assistant, but as soon as you can, it is the best decision you can make, so that you're not spending your time, like you said, on all this busy work that you probably shouldn't be doing. We've got to think of these things early on, and I did not, and I suffered from it.
Yeah. One of the only things that I've done well from the very get-go was I've always hired help. Always.
Love
I am
that.
the queen.
What was the mentality behind that? Like, how did you do that?
Well, it started so I left corporate America in 2000 because I wasn't brave enough to quit, but I got laid off. And so while I waited for another job that I was going to hate, I thought, well, let me see if I can start this painting company and just make a little bit of money and see what happens. Right. And so the painting company was doing so well that I got another job offer, and Jason and I were both like, we're going to say no to that and just see what God does with this side hustle thing and see what happens. Well, and then I got pregnant like 10 minutes later, and I was like, whoa. I mean, we were hoping for kids, and I was 30, and, and it was on the up and up, and we were, married and hoping for a family. But I was like, okay, this business literally just took off. And so I kept painting, Amy, until I was 8 months pregnant. And there was one, and I was not a cute pregnant girl with like a little basketball in her belly. Like, I was a small Volkswagen. Like, that was, and so I was in a client's house. I was 8 months pregnant, and I was coming down off of an extension ladder in a really 12-foot ceiling or 14-foot ceiling master bathroom. And I missed the last step, and I was 8 months pregnant. And I thought, this is not wisdom. This is not wisdom. So I called my sister-in-law and I said, would you come to work for me? And that was like my first hire. And because the company was making such great money, I mean, we got on the Prada homes with some amazing builders. We had so much favor on my painting company from day one that I was like, I do not want to like walk away from this while I'm home with my baby. And she did such a phenomenal job that I was like, wait a second, what if I just stay home and find clients and you just do all the painting? And then at the end, I had 8 women working for me full time after, it was 17 years later. But, so I just took what I learned from that. And as soon as I was in the online space and coaching and teaching here, I just did the same thing. I know what I'm good at, and there are a limited amount of things. And so when I would try to do something techie, anything that has to do with setting up, website, landing page, any of that stuff, literally I'd like want to break out in hives, and I would be so bad. And I'm like, what am I doing? Just hire somebody to do it, because it's done in a fraction of the time. They do such a better job. And then it's done done. And I keep my peace. And I think sometimes for women, here's what I think one of the rubs may be with getting help is they think that in order for it to be all theirs, and I use air quotes here, that they have to do all of the things. And that's just, I think, backwards thinking. Tell me your thoughts on that.
I love that you said that. Because it's all theirs, they think they need to do all the things. And the beauty of being a business owner is that you get to do the things that you are really great at. Yes. And then you get to delegate and leverage those things that you're not. Like, that's how you build a business.
Yeah.
Here's the beautiful thing. I'm 14 years in, and I look at my team. They can run circles around me with something that I cannot do anymore. Yes. And that's when you've made it. Like, when your team is better than you, you're probably doing something right. Yeah. So there's no badge of honor in doing it all on your own. That is not the goal of entrepreneurship. And so I think you're right.
Oh, that's so good.
Right? The earlier you hire, the smarter you are.
Yeah, I love that.
To hire. That was courageous what you did, because 1, you were going to have a baby, so you were going to have to give up some control. Yeah. And 2, you had to pay someone. I think that most people are scared about paying someone when they're just starting out.
Yeah. But here's what I have always told people: when you are paying someone to do some things in your business for you, it's not like you're taking a nap and eating bonbons the whole time. Like, while they're doing those things, then you're working in your zone of genius and you're making an income there. And I always give the story of how the first time we hired somebody to like come and clean our house, I was like so nervous about paying the $125. But then eventually I remembered I charged $100 an hour to paint. So I would go work for 6 hours and make $600 while she was cleaning my home. She's operating in her gifts. I'm operating in my gifts. And I still came up on the, the upside. Plus I wasn't mean to my husband and children the whole time I was cleaning my own house, bitter about it because why are you kids so filthy? Can nobody hit the toilet, boys? Come on. And so I would keep my peace. And then when mama's happy, that everybody's happier. And so do people ever ask you, Amy, like when is it time to hire somebody in my business? Do you get that question?
All the time.
What is your answer for them? I'm curious.
My answer is you hire before you think you're ready to, because no one feels like they're totally ready to hire. And I hired 5-hour-a-week virtual assistant. Her name was Rebecca. She was my first hire. And I hired her. I think I probably went a whole year without hiring, but I think if you can hire in that first year, do it. What do you tell people about that?
I tell people that if you're even asking me when you should hire, it's past time.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Because it's past time. You should have already. And so if you can afford to, or if you are bumping up against roadblocks or finding yourself doing things that you are not good at and hate, it's time to hire. Absolutely.
Yes.
And I just want to give a real quick shout out to you for taking time off this last summer. You have done such a good job hiring and training your people. Remind me, was it 7 weeks that you took off?
Let's see. It was 5 weeks.
5 weeks. Cause I listened to the podcast and then remember I texted you.
I was going to say, you were the one who encouraged me the most and you were so proud of me. And I love that. Yes. I took 5 weeks off. It was difficult. You know that from my podcast. I'm not going to lie, but it was so good to know that my business could keep running. We were totally fine. And I needed that mental health break. So it was good. Yeah.
I am so, so proud of you. So tell me what advice you would give to someone right now, Amy, who's listening to us today, and she's in a 9-to-5 that she hates and she wants to leave, but she doesn't know like what type of a business, what kind of a side hustle to start. Like, what's your advice for her? Because I do have, even though the majority of our listeners are probably small business owners, we do have a good portion who also are dreaming. They wish that they could leave and do something. They just don't know what it is.
Yes. So there's 2 things I want to say. Number one, the mindset. Don't wait till you're confident enough to do it. We talked about this before. You and I have talked about this. I think that courage comes before confidence. Amen. In the sense of getting the courage, taking that leap of faith, believing that you're meant for something more, something bigger. You got to tap into that first, and just know that you're not supposed to have all the answers. It's not going to go super smooth. And the only thing that will get you to where you want to get to is taking action, which will give you clarity. So when I first started out, I didn't want to be a social media manager forever. That was definitely not my end all be all, but a starter idea was going to get me closer to what I ultimately wanted to do, which was the business I have today. So we got to first muster up all the courage we can and then put a plan together. I wrote 2 weeks notice to give people the plan because no one knows what they're doing in the beginning. No one should know what they're doing. This is all new to us. So I wrote the plan or the guidebook for you so you don't have to figure it out on your own.
I love that. All right. Let's tell people, when is your book actually debuting? Tell us when they can find it. Where can they find it? Okay. 2/21.
2/21. Everywhere you buy books online, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target.com, you can go there to find my book. And then when you do, go to 2weeksnoticebook.com. So 2weeksnoticebook.com. I always have special bonuses for my buyers. And so you can get some special bonuses to go along with it.
Tell them what the bonuses are so that they go check it out.
Well, it's a little tricky depending on when you buy. So so we change the bonuses depending on the month or when you buy. But if you're going to buy right when the book comes out, we've got this really great guidebook that gives you all the questions you need to ask, all the things that you want to do to put together your plan. We put together a guidebook that goes along with the book. So if you buy the book right when you're listening to this, you're going to get a really cool guidebook to go along with it.
Awesome. So tell me, did you enjoy the book writing process?
I did not. I wanted to say yes so bad. I really struggled.
Honesty.
I know. When it was over, I was like, dang, I'm so proud of myself. But I tend to second guess myself. Like I too, 14 years in, still deal with like imposter syndrome and having enough confidence. Like, am I really an author? But it was really good for me to push through. I feel like I am at a whole other level now, knowing I wrote a book. But in the beginning, it was hard. I'm not a natural writer. Thank goodness I had some great editors and supporters.
Well, and I remember when I was writing Fear's Not the Boss of You, I just kept thinking, like, I can't take this down like a social media post if I realize that what I wrote was knuckleheaded. Like, it lives on. And what if I'm wrong about something? And what if, you know what I mean? And so it feels really permanent, which is one of the reasons why it was kind of a painful experience for me. I mean, I think I enjoyed it. I don't know.
There were moments of enjoyment.
I might have PTSD about it. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I might. But at the end of the day, this is genuinely true. I might have struggled, second guessing myself the whole way through. But then at the end, I got to, as you did too, I got to read the book, the Audible. And when I read it, I thought, this is it. This is exactly what I wanted to do. I was really, really happy with the end result when I was far removed from worrying about every word.
Oh, I cannot wait to get my hands on my copy. So thank you. All right. So as we wrap up here, Amy, if you could go back in time and give yourself one piece of business advice, what would it be and why?
The business advice I'd give myself is to not think that every decision in the beginning is set in stone. You just have to make the decisions and then see where they take you, and you can recalibrate at any time. But make the decisions. Don't think that every decision you make is so huge, because it is not. So I want you to take action, make the decisions, recalibrate when you want. And also the last thing I'll say is be kind to yourself. I wish I was so much nicer to myself in the beginning, and just know that it's going to be hard and I'll figure it out.
That is awesome. Amy, it's so great to have you here. I know we're going to have people who are going to want to, because maybe they don't know you, which would be crazy that people would not know who Amy Porterfield is. But where can somebody connect with you on social media? Is Instagram still your favorite? Is that where you want to be?
Yep. At Amy Porterfield. We're the most active there. I get into my DMs, come say hello. So I'd love to meet all of you.
All right. Well, friends, do me a hot solid, if you would. If you enjoyed this podcast, if you wouldn't mind sharing it with somebody you know who is maybe stuck in a corporate America job that she detests, or that's, stealing her peace. Share Amy's book with someone who you know needs it. Go buy a copy. Go buy a couple of copies. I'm always telling people, Amy, that the biblical concept of reaping and sowing, like you just cannot deny that. And so if you have a dream to write a book someday, invest in other authors now. I tell people that all the time. Buy their books. Even if you don't necessarily, can't get through the whole thing or don't have time to read it right now, you guys would be shocked at just how much it means to us authors when you buy the books. And so, Amy, I'm hoping that thing does so amazing and touches so many lives and gives so many women courage to do the things that they want to do and get out of corporate. So thank you for having me here.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for doing this for me. I love you so very much. And
we're going to plan on meeting in real life sometime in April. Okay. Bless you, my friend. Take care.
Bye.
Friend, thank you so much for listening to the podcast again this week. I'm so honored that you come back for every episode and that you share the Jennifer Allwood Show with your friends and family. Every time I see you guys post about it on Instagram or Facebook or something, it just makes me do a little happy. So thank you. Make sure that you subscribe to the podcast if you never want to miss an episode. So you can go to Apple Podcasts or Stitcher or Spotify or any of the other podcasting places and subscribe each week so that every week you get the new episode when it releases. So just know that I love bringing you relevant content. I love bringing you great guests. And one of the ways you can help us here at Team Allwood is by leaving the podcast a review. So if you have just a second to do that, would you go over and leave a review for the Jennifer Allwood Show? Thank you again. You're amazing. I'm honored to be here. Until next week. Bye-bye.